Britt here again, CaptainBrittSailing.com. I'm going to do the third part of the little series here on right away, rules of the road, and this time we're going to talk specifically about sailboats and what to do when you're crossing paths with another sailboat. First of all, though, there is one time that a sailboat would not have right of way over a power boat, and that would be when the sailboat is actually overtaking the power boat. It's possible if you could have a very fast racing sailboat and a very slow power boat just trolling along, and you might be going faster than them, and you just can't run over the back end of them and say, I'm sorry, but I'm a sailboat. So you would have to alter course to port or starboard to avoid running over top of a power boat. The rest of the time, the power boat is going to be the giveaway vessel, meaning that it needs to maneuver, hopefully early and obvious, to avoid the sailboat under sail. They have more maneuverability, so it kind of makes sense when you think about it, although sometimes power boaters are not fond of that rule. Sailing, when we go sailing, we need to know who is the stand-on and who is the giveaway vessel. Once again, remember, there is not necessarily right of way. You are a stand-on giveaway vessel if you are the stand-on vessel and the other vessel does not maneuver to get out of your way. You, at the last second or minute, hopefully, would be obliged to maneuver to avoid them. Perhaps they don't know the rules, perhaps they're not watching, whatever. You can't just run them over. You gotta make a change if you know you're gonna hit. So, sailing wise, there's gonna be a couple of different situations. The one I have set up right now is a crossing situation, and this is the most typical one that we spend time talking about. It was when you have two sailboats and they're sailing on opposite tacks. So what tack are you sailing on is the first thing you need to know. Well, this guy right here, he is catching the wind across his right hand or starboard side of the vessel. So that would mean that he is on the starboard tack. This guy is catching the wind first on the port side of his vessel, so he is on the port tack. And anytime the two boats are crossing, the starboard vessel would be the stand-on vessel. So this guy is going to want to hold his course. He's not going to want to vary. This guy needs to do something. He needs to maneuver to avoid the other boat. Most of the time, it's going to be by turning and going to his stern, but another option would be that he could tack so that he was then going in the same direction. But whatever the case may be, the vessel that is on the port tack is the giveaway vessel, and he needs to maneuver to avoid the starboard vessel. Okay. If you're wondering which tack you're on for sure, if your boom is on the port side of the boat, then you are on a starboard tack. If your boom is on the starboard side of the boat, then you are on a port tack, because the wind is coming across the port side of your boat. So practice a little bit. When we do classes, I'll point out boats to people and say, what tack is that boat on? Who has right of way, who's stand on, who's giveaway, and so on, just so that you can get the feel of everything on the water. Take an early look when you're sailing, think about it for a second, say, okay, who's on, am I on starboard tack? Am I on port tack? What's the other guy doing? And just, give yourself a little bit of time to figure the whole thing out. Okay. The other possibility is that you are sailing on the same tack. Now, if you're sailing on the same tack, your boom is going to be on the same side. So now we've got two boats sailing in the same direction. Maybe this one's coming down and this one's going this way, and it looks like you're going to hit again. So now we need to know who is stand-on and who is giveaway. So the way you figure that is you look at the situation and the windward vessel. In other words, the boat, the vessel that's the farthest upwind is going to be give way. He needs to stay out of the way of the other boat. If you start racing sailboats, this becomes kind of a big deal, and also kind of a game that a lot of people play. So if this boat heads up towards the wind and is looking like it's going to hit, this boat is required to get out of his way until they change places, and then all of a sudden this is now the windward vessel. Racing, that's something that happens a lot. Cruising around the bay or wherever you're sailing, not so much. So you just need to know who is stand on and who is give way. So if you're the vessel farthest upwind, you are the windward vessel, and you need to stay clear however that happens. So if you're sailing across this way, this guy's coming up this way, you got to do something. Either you need to adjust your course up this way, or you need to duck behind him. Whatever it is you're going to do, my advice to you is to make it obvious to the other guy what you're doing, and do it early enough that he knows and he doesn't feel like you don't know what's going on. So early and obvious maneuver. The last one, and it's kind of like the power boat, is an overtaking vessel would have to give way to the vessel that they are overtaking. So if you're both sailing, let's say it's this way, you're both sailing this way, this vessel is going to either have to maneuver to port or to starboard and avoid running over top of the other guy. So, and I think that's the basics of the whole thing, enough to remember. Now that you know which side is port, which side is starboard, and you understand the which tack you're sailing on and so on, you should be able to make an educated decision as to what to do, and let the other guy know early what you're planning on, so that you don't go bumping into each other. So, all right, guys, that's it. Don't forget to subscribe and like if you would, and I'll see you in class.